Hello, my darlings. Madame Raven here with a story for you from William Schoene. This one has one of my favorite tropes in it. I'll let you figure out what that is. It's entitled The Paid Price. Let me start off by saying that I love flea markets. They're the place where items from the past can reside when people no longer want them. I love going there and seeing all kinds of antiques and knickknacks, because it's like a museum, but the only difference is you can buy the things that you like to look at. However, the best part of a flea market, for me, is the video games. So when I went with my mother and sister to the flea market, I tagged along in hopes of finding some old video games to add to my collection. When we arrived at the flea market, I went to find old video games while my mother and sister went to look for old books and clothes. After shopping around, I was able to buy a few games that I wanted, such as Castlevania for my NES system and Super Mario 64 for my Nintendo 64. After spending my allowance, I called my sister Kelly to see what she and Mom were. I met them at a booth that had all kinds of different purses for sale. I opened my mouth with every intention of telling them how ridiculous it was, when I noticed that Kelly was holding a strange-looking book. It was a black book that didn't have a name on it, but it had a large pentagram on the front of it. "What kind of book is that?" I asked Kelly. "It's this weird spell book I picked up at one of the booths," she answered. "Really? A spell book?" I snorted, thinking that the whole thing was just stupid. I was never the one to believe in what people call magic. Saying magic words only casts a spell of bad luck on your enemies, or making someone fall in love with you by making them drink a potion. Even at that young age of 17, I wasn't an expert on life, but I knew things weren't that easy. So I just brushed it off as just another one of Kelly's books that she was going to add to her small library in her room. After Mom and Kelly brought the rest of us what they wanted, we went back home. This is where things get a little bit dark. I was sitting on my ass playing Super Mario 64 in my room when my sister barged in telling me she found a spell that she wanted to actually try to cast. "You can do whatever you want, Kelly," I laughed, "but I'm staying away from that crap. It's all a bunch of hogwash anyway." "But this isn't just any old spell, James," she defended. "This is a spell that grants wishes." "Now I know it's fake," I said. "You can't just wish for what you want. Life doesn't work like that. But everything you ever want is a wish until you get it." "True," I agreed. "But it's not like you can say, 'I wish for this,' and it magically appears." "Well, fine," Kelly snapped. "If you want to sit there and be such a negative Nancy all day, then screw you." Kelly stormed out of my bedroom, leaving me to my game. As I continued to play, I began to actually give this some thought. What if you could actually wish for something? I asked myself what I'd wish for. I could wish for more video games. I could definitely use a new car rather than the piece of junk I drove. I just couldn't put my finger on what I could wish for. Later that evening, I was walking upstairs, and I heard Kelly talking in some strange language that I had never heard before. I walked into her room and asked her what she was doing. "I'm warding off evil spirits," she told me. "Why do you think there are evil spirits in the house?" I asked with an irritated sigh. "I just want to be safe because Mom and Dad are leaving for their anniversary dinner tonight," Kelly said. "That's tonight?" I ran downstairs and found my parents in their formal clothes, ready to go out and enjoy the night. "Happy anniversary," I said. "Thank you, son," my dad replied happily. "I'm taking your mother to this nice place on the other side of town. It's called Majid's." "Sounds classy," I commented. After my parents left to go out to eat, I went back upstairs to play my old games again. As I was about to turn on my N64, my little sister called me from downstairs. I let out an annoyed sigh and walked down the stairs and found her in the living room. I was shocked at the sight of what she had done. Kelly had drawn a large white pentagram made of chalk on the wooden floor and at the very center of it was an old shoebox. "Oh my gosh, Mom and Dad are going to freak," I yelled. "Calm down, James," remarked Kelly. "They told me I could do whatever I wanted with my spells as long as I cleaned up my mess." "All right, this has gone way too far. You're cleaning this up and putting that book away," I told her. "No," she snapped. "If you don't put this away, I'm going to. Look, if you'll just hear me out," Kelly begged. "If it doesn't work, I will do your chores for a month." "Fine, go ahead," I said. She gave me a guilty look, as if she was unsure of whether she wanted to go through with this little stunt. She knew that if she failed, she would be doing dishes and taking out smelly trash for an entire month, not to mention a lot of my other chores. "Do what you have to do," I said. Kelly picked up her spell book and proceeded to chant, "Ego, vocabo, imanu, vota," 3 times. Suddenly the shoebox began to shake. The box shook violently like 2 raccoons in a backpack. Then it suddenly stopped, and a very bright flash of light exploded from inside the box as the lid blew off. But as quickly as the light came, it vanished. Kelly and I looked at each other, and then at the box. We approached the box and looked inside, and what we saw was rather shocking. The shoebox contained a hand. It was a mummified hand that looked to have either been shrunken or came off a baby. The hand lay flat on the inside of the shoebox, with all the fingers pointing out as if it were holding up the number 5. However, I did notice that the thumb was missing. "A hand?" I said. "All this for a decayed hand?" "It's not just a dead hand, James," she corrected. "It's a wishing hand. It says here that every finger on the hand grants a wish." "Then I suppose that it's been used since it's missing a thumb," I commented. "That's weird. But what should we wish for?" "I could use a new car," I suggested. "I could definitely use some new clothes," Kelly added. "Why don't you just wish for what everyone asks for when they can't think of something for Christmas?" I said. Kelly gave me a confused look. "Wish for money. How much should we ask for?" "Shoot for the stars, sis. $10 billion. We'll never have to work a day in our lives." "Nah, you know how Mom and Dad are. They're old school. They're even all about earning what you get. They probably make us donate it all to charity because we didn't work for it. Even if they did let us keep it, they wouldn't enjoy it anyway. Or they'd blow it all on expensive stuff." "How about $10,000, I suggested. "All right," Kelly smiled. She closed the book and laid it on the floor. Then she reached in the shoebox and grabbed the hand. She held it close to her and made her first wish. "I wish for 10,000 American dollars." Suddenly we heard a loud crash from upstairs, followed by a scream from my sister. "The hand moved!" "That's stupid. It's dead. It can't move," I rejected. She then dropped the hand and let it fall hard onto the floor. We watched as the index finger broke off and turned to dust. "Weird," I whispered. "Yeah," agreed Kelly. "But the question is, what is upstairs?" We both looked at each other and decided it would be best if we both go upstairs and investigate the Big Bang. So we both made our way upstairs and began to check the rooms for anything strange. We checked my room and didn't find anything, and the same went for Mom and Dad's room. But when we checked Kelly's room, we found something rather strange. Sitting on the floor in the center of the room was a large silver briefcase. I knew only one thing it could possibly be. "Open it," I said, happy for my sister. She then opened the briefcase, and we both saw it was filled with cash. "Jesus, Mary and Joseph," Kelly said. "It worked," I mused. "What are you going to do with the money?" I asked. "I'll cross that bridge when I come to it," she replied. "Right now I have to figure out how I'm going to keep this from Mom and Dad." I didn't think about how Mom and Dad would take chunk after chunk of Kelly's money until it was all gone. We'd have to keep this from them somehow. "I'm not old enough to make a savings account without a parent with me. It sucks being 15, she complained. "Just hide it under your bed and spend a little bit of money at a time." You have to spend it or else they'll eventually find it." "Good idea," she agreed. So Kelly hid the cash under her bed in hopes that it would not be found by our parents. The next morning it was Sunday, and we all met at the dining room table for breakfast. Kelly and I had to act as if everything was normal because there was no way they could ever find out about the hand or the money. However, something weird did happen at breakfast. My dad was reading the newspaper and sipping on a fresh cup of coffee, as usual, until he pointed out one particular article. "It says here that $10,000 was stolen from a local cancer charity," Dad said. "Ouch," my mom commented. "Are there any suspects?" "It says here that the head of the charity has been questioned about the disappearance of the money, but the authorities are saying the account was most likely hacked because of the location where the money was taken. However, in answer to your question, no, there aren't any suspects." Kelly gave me a wide-eyed look, and that's when it hit me. Did the money that she wished for come from the charity? Could they somehow track the money back to us if that were the case? A pit in my stomach grew as worries formed in my head. "Kelly," I said, getting her attention, "may I talk to you in private?" We excused ourselves from the breakfast table and made our way upstairs to my bedroom and closed the door. "Do you think the hand took that money from the charity?" I asked frantically. "No, but what?" I interrupted. "Do you realize how much trouble we could get in? It's obvious that the hand stole the money to grant you the wish. The book did say that every wish comes with a price. And that price is we could go to jail for major theft." I was freaking out. I knew I could go to jail by just being with my sister at the time of this happening. And what would I tell the police? I wished for it for some magic hand? They'd think I was crazy and would probably hold me in a loony bin until I confessed to the crime. "If things go south, we'll handle it. In the meantime, let's enjoy our wishes," she said. "What do you want to wish for?" she asked. I took the hand from her, and I wished to meet the love of my life that day. I felt the hand twitch and the middle finger broke off and fell to the floor and turned to dust. At school, I met the most beautiful girl at lunch. Her name was Stacy, and when she sat next to me, we got into a conversation, and we quickly hit it off. I got her number, and we agreed to have coffee after school that day. When I got home, I found Kelly on the phone with one of her friends, and after she hung up, she told me that she was talking to her friend Jody, and his girlfriend had broken up with him that day. Her name was Stacy. "Where is that hand?" I asked. "It's in my bag. Why?" "We need to get rid of it," I told her. "Didn't you just meet the girl of your dreams today?" "I did, but I feel bad that you feel like you stole her from that guy," she answered for me. "Yeah," I basically muttered. "Well, you are not getting rid of the hand, James. Remember that we had 2 wishes left, which means we have 2 shots at anything in the world. Can you at least promise me you won't do anything crazy with it?" "Sure, James," she snorted. I walked away from her and down to my room to get started on homework. After I was done, I turned on my N64 and got back to my Mario game. That's when I heard Kelly arguing with my parents in the kitchen. I paused the game so I could eavesdrop. She was arguing with them about going to a party that she really wanted to go to, but our parents were not having it. They were set upon not letting her go to the party because they did not know the girl who was hosting it or her parents. After they declared their decision, Kelly stormed out of the kitchen and ran to her room. Her room was right next to mine, so I could hear her crying. "She'll get over it," I told myself as I resumed my game. The next morning, I noticed that Kelly was not at all upset. In fact, she was quite jolly despite what happened the night before. Mom and Dad told us they were staying home that day. We didn't question them, but we did find out a little bit strange that they were both staying home. I had a great day at school. My new girlfriend, Stacy, was switched to 2 of my classes, so I got to spend more time with her at school. After school ended, I received a call from my grandmother telling me some terrible news. Mom and Dad were killed by a drunk driver that day. They were T-boned by an SUV that ran a red light in an intersection, and they were killed instantly. It was devastating news, and the fact that it was so sudden made it hard to process. Our grandmother stayed with us at our house and took us to school. That Friday night, I had a shocking realization. I ran into Kelly's room and began going through her stuff. I found the mummified wishing hand, only having one finger left. I ran downstairs and found Grandma in the kitchen. "Where is Kelly?" I demanded. "She's at a friend's party." My blood ran cold with rage. Kelly had gotten our parents killed, just so that she could have some stupid party, right after she promised not to misuse it. As much as I'd like to rip my sister a new asshole, I was stuck with a very rough decision. Should I wish my parents back to life? I looked at the hand and its only finger. I could wish for anything. My parents, money, power, knowledge. The universe was literally a fingertip, and I had no idea what to do. I sat in my room, staring at the wishing hand, wondering what I could do. Hours must have went by before my sister walked in my room. "I see you found out," she said, knowing she was guilty. "We need to wish them back," I told her. Don't think what? You got them killed, Kelly, over a stupid party. Something that won't even matter in 5 years." Kelly stood there carefully, thinking over her next words. "You know it's the right thing to do," I shouted. "James, what if they aren't our parents when they come back?" she told me. "What if what we wish back is not our parents? It may not look like them, but we run the risk of—" "I am not going to listen to your horror movie bullshit," I cried. "This is all your fault." I stood up from my chair, tears running down my face. I know I had the most deathly look on my face. Kelly looked as fearful as a cornered animal. Her puppy dog eyes gazed at me as if I was some savage predator. "Give me the hand," I growled. "I can't," she whispered. "Give me the freaking hand, you selfish bitch," I said through clenched teeth. Kelly was shaking with fear. I glanced at the wishing hand and snatched it from her loose grip. I held the hand close, and I made my last wish. "I wish our mother and father would come back home," I cried. The crusty old finger fell from the hand, rending it a dead nub full of empty stumps. Suddenly the hand crumbled to dust in my grip, like an old gingerbread house. It took a few moments to let what I did process my mind. I wished that my parents would come home, but I realized that's all I wished for. I was torn from my thoughts as there was a loud knock at the door. My sister made her way out of my room to answer it, but I grabbed her shoulder and stopped her. She turned around and I could see that she had the same thoughts as I did. I realized I did not wish them whole or even alive. I remember how my grandma told us that we would have a closed casket funeral. I remember that the coroner said that my parents were unrecognizable to the point that they needed their dental records to identify them. My heart raced with fear as the beings continued to knock on our front door. I heard footsteps making their way to the door. I could see my irritated grandmother making her way to the front door to answer it. I knew I couldn't let her see what was on the other side of that front door. I ran down the stairs to stop her, but I was too late. She was already opening the door when I made it to the bottom of the steps. Grandma let out a deafening scream when she saw what stood before us. I froze at the sight of them. My sister fainted and her limp body rolled down the stairs. What I wished for came home, but they were not my parents. So quoth this raven.